In 1950, a fisherman threw a plastic bag overboard. He had no idea what he'd just released into the world. That moment, unremarkable, forgotten almost instantly, would become the opening chapter of something no one could have predicted. The ocean, vast and patient, had always absorbed what we discarded. For thousands of years, it worked. But plastic was different. Plastic didn't rot. Plastic didn't dissolve. Plastic simply waited. By the 1960s, plastic had become the material of progress. Lightweight, cheap, durable, factories hummed, supermarkets filled with plastic-wrapped goods. Every household in the developed world seemed to be generating more of it by the day. And when it was no longer needed, where did it go? Into the bins, into the trucks, eventually into the sea. The people throwing things away weren't villains. They were simply living. They couldn't see what would happen decades later. They had no way of knowing that a single plastic bottle tossed into the ocean would still be there in 50 years, broken into smaller and smaller fragments, drifting through currents they'd never heard of. Around 1970, oceanographers began noticing something peculiar in their research. The waters between Hawaii and California seemed different, not visibly dirty, not yet. But when they scooped samples, they found them filled with tiny plastic fragments, microbeads, shards, invisible to the naked eye unless you were looking for them. Most people weren't. The discovery should have alarmed everyone. It didn't. The samples were published in obscure journals. Environmental concerns took a backseat to economic growth. The plastic continued to flow, and the ocean continued to receive it, current by current, piece by piece, in a slow accumulation that no single observer could quite see as a crisis. By the 1980s, the patch had a name, the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. But calling it a patch was misleading. It wasn't solid. It wasn't a floating island of trash that you could photograph from above. It was far more insidious than that. It was a diffusion, a vast soup of degraded plastic stretched across an area roughly the size of Texas, invisible to satellites. Here's what the researchers still didn't fully understand. The patch wasn't growing in one place. It was growing everywhere. Currents in the North Pacific created a gyre, a circular current that trapped lighter materials in its center. But other gyres existed in other oceans. The Atlantic had one. The Indian Ocean had one. The Mediterranean, too. The plastic was finding its way into all of them. Throughout the 1990s and early 2000s, awareness grew slowly. Documentary filmmakers began diving into the patch. News outlets reported on it. But something strange happened. The more people learned about it, the more abstract it became, because you couldn't see it. You couldn't point to it on a map with certainty. It was there, and yet it wasn't. That gap between knowing and seeing created a peculiar kind of denial. But the animals knew. Fish swallowed plastic thinking it was food. Sea turtles tangled in abandoned fishing nets. Seabirds' stomachs were found filled with bottle caps and plastic shards. They didn't understand what was happening to them. They only knew they were dying, and they were dying in numbers that grew, year after year, unabated. By 2010, scientists had begun to understand something even more troubling. The plastic wasn't just floating. It was breaking down into pieces so small they entered the food chain at the most fundamental level. Plankton consumed microplastics. Fish ate the plankton. Larger fish ate the smaller fish. And so the plastic moved up the chain, concentrating in the bodies of creatures we ourselves would eventually eat. The patch was no longer just an ocean problem. It had become a human problem. But still, the plastic continued to pour in. Millions of tons every year. And here's the part that might keep you awake. We're still not entirely sure how much of it is already out there. Estimates range from hundreds of thousands of tons to millions. The scientists studying it don't know the final number yet. What makes this tragedy so slow, so quiet, is that no single moment feels catastrophic. There's no earthquake, no explosion, just a steady, patient accumulation. A plastic bag here, a bottle cap there, a fishing line, a fragment of a shopping bag. Pieces too small to see, too numerous to count, spreading through the ocean like a slow stain that will never wash out. The ocean, which once seemed infinite in its capacity to absorb and heal, has finally reached its limit. And we created that limit. Not through malice, but through convenience. Through the simple act of throwing something away and assuming it would disappear. For 70 years, we've been learning that nothing really disappears. It only transforms. As you drift toward sleep tonight, perhaps imagine that fisherman in 1950 throwing his bag overboard. He lived in a different world, one where we believed the ocean's vastness made it indestructible. He couldn't have known. None of them could have known. And yet, the consequences of that unknowing are still unfolding, still spreading, still settling into the depths where no one can see them. The patch continues to grow, not quickly, not visibly, but inevitably. And somewhere, in the slow darkness of the deep ocean, it waits, a monument to our convenience, a silent testament to what we've forgotten to see. The world didn't end catastrophically. It simply changed, one piece of plastic at a time, so gradually that we're only now beginning to understand the magnitude of what we've lost. Subscribe for more stories of slow, unseen changes that reshaped our world. Stories best heard as you drift into contemplation.